Okay, so we'll start by discussing about one article I read about. So some Gulf nations, they are looking to build overland optical fiber connections to Europe in case of uncertainty due to the threat in that area. So first of all, my curiosity was to know exactly what overland fiber routes are and why are they talking about Europe. So we'll just go through this conversation with Gemini. First, let us look at overland fiber versus sea subsea cables, which is so like 99% of international internet traffic flows through these submarine fiber optic cables, which is on the ocean floor. Yeah, so they mentioned some details like data flowing between Asia, Middle East, and Europe enters the Indian Ocean. It squeezes through some strait and runs up the seabed of the Red Sea or whatever. So basically, 99% of today's internet traffic flows mainly through the subsea cables. So what about overland fiber routes? So instead of laying cables underwater, fiber optic lines will be buried underground through land masses, which is across Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Israel, Turkey, Iran, etc. And why connect to Europe? Because Western Europe has many cloud data centers. A lot of financial exchanges, etc., happens in that particular area. And apparently subsea cable landings connecting to North America as well. But main point is that place happens to be a hub of a lot of the what processing happening in the world. And having a direct land overland connection will provide a shorter and direct physical path in case anything happens to the subsea roads. So the source or the article I read basically mentions the initiative is because there is a threat of conflict, a threat of conflict severing the connectivity. So what kind of like I want to know how true that is and what exactly the situation is. So here they mention Red Sea to be one of the world's tightest digital choke points. So roughly like 15 to 17 major subsea cables, which carries 90% of the all the data traffic between Europe and Asia is there, and it happens through a single corridor. So any conflict happening in that region, any chances of damage will disrupt like majority of the exchange of information. So I think there was this actual example. So in 2024, February 2024, the cargo ship MV Rubimar, it was struck by some missiles from Yemen, and because of which the anchor of the ship was dragged, which severed the three major undersea cables. So they have mentioned three. I think all the undersea cables must have some names. So these three were uh, the connection for these three were cut and it took down 25% of the regional data traffic between Asia and Europe. So that is a critical point where any damage will strictly or will have bigger impacts. And in case of any damage, since it happens or it could be, it is in a uh, war zone or like a sensitive area. In case of any damage, it is difficult to just send people or send machinery for repairs as they require specialized cable laying ships and etc. So in active war zone areas, it is difficult to send ships or make sure there's a safe passage for them. So that is another one concern. Yeah, and subsea sabotage. So if anyone wants to disrupt or really cause some damage, they can directly target that particular aspect, like the particular sea connection, subsea optical fiber, and disrupt communication. But from all the news usually that I read, there has never been. I've never heard of any attacks directly to this kind of optical fiber connections. I don't know how efficient it is to just damage that. But yeah, the article also gives an analogy of the oil pipelines in that area. So apparently, uh, the Gulf countries, they have created crude oil bypass routes as well, and so they're trying a similar initiative for internet connectivity. But then my curiosity was that if they have already such bypass for crude oils, why did then so much supply chain or issue happen during the US-Iran war? So what happened was basically capacity bottleneck is the issue. So the Strait of Hormuz, it carries over 20 million barrels per day. But the bypass that these countries have created, the Saudi Arabia UAE bypass pipeline, this has a combined operational capacity of 6.5 to 8 million barrels per day. So if the Strait of Hormuz is blocked, it cannot the bypass cannot absorb the total volume of all the uh, total volume essentially. So yeah, that was the main concern. And also there's a mention of things like historically these countries, the Gulf countries, are not very cooperating with each other. So how exactly will they be able to cooperate to build this initiative? So it has mentioned different projects and uh, yeah, so different accords and policy and stuff. Right, not really go through that in detail, but anyways, do you have any opinion so far?
Yes, look, I'm well aware of the oil situation in the Middle East, like the effects of the war on oil supply. I mean, I follow
Yeah,
it pretty regularly, so I'm well aware of it. But I didn't have the knowledge about the importance of the fibers for the internet, how important that was. So yes, that's something new. And also you mentioned like it makes like from war strategy point of view, that cutting off those wires would make like it's a threat that people can make.
yeah.
Yeah.
But like it seems like I know since reading this, it seems obvious that since this is such a critical thing and you could damage so much, why hasn't there been any news of such attacks to optical fibers? I don't know about that.
Yes, I think it is. I think from what I
Or
think,
maybe it is difficult to exact because it is deep in under the sea. Maybe it is difficult to just directly attack or cause damage to that.
yes, I think yeah, there could be two reasons. Like okay, one you what you have mentioned, like yes, I think it could be that it's difficult to execute such kind of missions to cut it. And the second one could be like from what I think is that if one party would do this, I think both of them will suffer as a result of this. I think
Yeah,
it is similar to what a nuclear war would do. It is because two countries have nuclear weapons, but if they actually use whatever the amount they have, the world will be means the effects will be too large for both the parties. It's mostly used as a deterrent. I think that could be another reason from my point of view.
we- then so yeah, I wanted to know a bit more about how or just the mechanism or like what is the route that happens when the communication in the optical fibers take place. So yes, Yeah, so I basically ask like, for example, suppose I'm typing this prompt here, it is going to the servers. Like, what kind of journey uh, the data takes? So here's one scenario they've given. So the exact number of cables used when I type in a prompt in Gemini will depend on where the AI model server is located and where I am in India. So for example, if the AI model processes locally in India itself, the undersea cable use will be zero. So our my phone laptop will send the light signal through home Wi-Fi or 5G onto underground land fibers that are there in along Indian highways, etc., and directly into a data center located in any of these cities. But if the AI model processes the prompt in the US or Europe, so there's just a typical route, not exact, but yeah, first my prompt will travel via underground fibers, that is in the Indian highways, etc., Indian roads to a cable landing station, which is I think usually has to be in the coast since there are undersea cables. And the ocean crossing cable, so cable number one, it gets injected into an undersea cable resting in the Indian Ocean, Arabian Sea. So if going west to Europe, it passes through the rest. And if it is going to the US, then it primary AS the data lanes. Basically, I travel through a different cable, but like the data will physically go to the US data center, and the return will also happen to the same route, and all of this will happen in under 200 to 300 milliseconds. So, like, we don't really think about it too much when you're in a day-to-day life when we are using the internet or using AI or anything. But like any data we give into the internet, like that data or that raw bit has to physically travel that distance of where the data center is, and like it happens so fast. So it is quite fascinating to think about actually. I also asked like if it would give some few other examples. What is the first one? The high frequency stock trade. So, for example, a financial firm in Mumbai wants to execute a trade on the London Stock Exchange, and because financial algorithms trade in milliseconds, taking a satellite route would cause a 500 millisecond delay. So there's that much amount of delay in satellite routes. And so by sending the order through subsea cables, there are like all the subsea cables all must be having some unique names and roads and stuff. So this is apparently one of them: India, Middle East, Western Europe cable, and the signal reaches London in under 60 milliseconds. And this is one of the examples given when ship the anchor of a ship damaged the subsea cables. So the three major subsea cables it damaged was CCOM, yeah, AAE1 and EIJ. And about 25% of all internet traffic passing between Asia, India, and Europe went dark. I don't really remember seeing any effect. So there must be a lot of redundancy in terms of the data transfer. So even if few of them are damaged, it's not a things don't come to a halt. And this is another example of someone watching a Premier League football match. So the communications happen so fast that if you're watching it with enough data, you'll only have a 2 second delay from the real life events. So that's about it. Yeah, do you have any thoughts?
Yes, so previously I knew about the connection that the transatlantic cable between US and Europe. I knew that it existed, but I wasn't aware like there were also cables between Middle East and Europe. I wasn't aware of that, so this is something new I learned. And I think uh, I think there is a video that I saw. It's maybe like 5 or 7 minutes. If it's possible, you can search on YouTube. Can you see? It's on the Vox channel. Like you can search transatlantic cable Vox on YouTube. And within YouTube, it should, yeah, maybe that first video. No, that's NBC. It was from Vox channel. That explained it much better.
What did you say?
The channel was Vox, VOX. You search within YouTube, Vox. Yes, the first one, I think. I can't hear it, but anyways. Can you share this again? Because I can't hear it. So I think so the audio won't be recorded.
Sorry.
The audio can't be recorded because I'm not able to hear the audio from the video.
Okay, let me have to share again.
Yes.
Europe to America, and they connect stock traders. We never stop hearing about how the internet's in the cloud, but really, it's in the ocean. About 300 undersea fiber optic cables are responsible for 99% of international data traffic. It's basically the same way we connect to each other in a single country, except underwater instead of underground. They transmit PewDiePie from Europe to America, and they connect stock traders in New York and London. And these cables, placed by private companies, are the backbone of the internet. But if you held one in your hand, it'd be no bigger than a soda can. There are just a few layers of protection from the water, including petroleum jelly. Yes, your internet is covered in Vaseline. They're vulnerable to earthquakes. At least a few times, confused sharks have bitten them. But many cables are beneath sea life because in some places they go as deep underwater as Mount Everest is high. Ships lower a plow that digs a tiny groove in the ocean floor, lay in the cable, and it's naturally buried by sand thanks to the ocean's current. And that process, it's both stunningly simple and mind-blowingly complex, is responsible for making the internet a truly global network. It's an idea that's audacious and crazy, and you think it has to be cutting edge, and it is, but it's also been going on for 157 years. Electric telegraphs have been around for a long, long time. Experiments in the early 1800s connected two ends of a garden using a clock that revealed letters. Then they moved on to two neighborhoods to help signal trains, and then multiple cities thanks to a network of railroad lines. Underwater submarine cables were an obvious next step, so they played around. Instead of petroleum jelly, the first ones were coated with exotic tree sap to protect them from the water. And though the undersea cables came in spurts, one of the first ones was knocked out of commission by a fishing boat. By 1858, they reached around the Atlantic and across the world. And that's how it's kind of gone since, laying cables that circle the Earth's oceans. The cables are unwound from the back of a ship, sink to the ocean floor, and the world is connected in speeds measured in milliseconds. There are ideas to bring the internet above sea level. Along with cell phone towers, there's internet beamed from Facebook satellites to Africa, balloons lifted by Google. But for speedy international travel, undersea cables are still where companies like Facebook and Google place their bets. That's because the best way to create the cloud is still by going under the sea.
This video is also 10 years old. So, but still, it is most of it is still true.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know like how much like satellite internet is still I think very niche thing. I don't know how long it will take for it to completely replace this kind of cable internet.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the latency issue, I don't know how they're going to solve it or make it similar to physical connection, because essentially the undersea cables are acting like a physical connection between 2 points, but satellite is wireless.
Yes.
So
Uh,
the point of or issue of latency, I don't know how much gap they can close.
yes. I don't know if putting a lot of this kind of Starlink kind of satellites is going to help. I don't know. But maybe like that could be their approach. And but anyways, like there is another issue with that, with a lot of satellites in the like low Earth orbit. Like I was reading an article on this, which said like there's been a lot of debris in the in the low Earth orbit. I mean, there are two issues that I found from two different sources. One is the issue of of covering. I mean, like mostly it was the astronomers that were complaining about it because there are so many objects in the low Earth orbit. Like they can't now use their telescopes to view things, like do their astronomy work, to look at other deep space things because they are obscured by those th all those satellites there. That's the first one. And the second one was about uh, like if two or more satellites crash, then it will create a lot of debris there, and which can potentially which can potentially trap human race within our planet. Like it's more of a sci-fi kind of concept, but uh, like it is a possibility. Because what happens is that if two satellites collide by somehow, then what will happen is that there'll be a lot of debris there. So now, and those debris will be flying at very high speeds. Now, what will happen is that if a new rocket or something, people attempt to launch them, so though that might collide with those debris and potentially make it practically impossible for any objects to leave Earth's orbit. That is a bit of sci-fi kind of concept, but that is still a possibility.
Is there no method or technique to clear debris now?
I don't think so. Currently, there are any method. Like as far as I know, I don't think so. There's something like that. The video, I think there might be some answers in the video that I talked about. It's actually a short. There's a channel called Astrokobi. Can you search that? I think it's a very recent video there. Astrokobi. Yes. Go to in the channel, go to the shorts section. The second one, maybe that's the one. The second video.
SpaceX has filed to put 1 million AI satellites into orbit, but if we aren't careful, this could trap us here on Earth for good. Up in orbit. SpaceX has filed to put 1 million AI satellites into orbit, but if we aren't careful, this could trap us here on Earth for good. Up in orbit,
Can I
nothing
refresh
ever
again
really
and do it?
sits still. Every one of these huge SpaceX has filed to put 1 million AI satellites into orbit, but if we aren't careful, this could trap us here on Earth for good. Up in orbit, nothing ever really sits still. Every one of these huge spacecraft is moving at 27,000 kilometers per hour, and they aren't all going the same way. At that speed, a single fleck of paint carries the energy of a rifle bullet. A stray bolt hits like a hand grenade. And when two whole satellites cross paths, they meet at around 11 kilometers per second. So right now, Starlinks avoid colliding by flying themselves. Each one gets a constant stream of data on everything around it, and if something is coming, it fires its thrusters and slides out of the way. No human involved at all. In the first 6 months of 2025 alone, Starlink had to swerve more than 140,000 times. That's about 800 dodges per day, and that's just with the traffic today, with 15,000 satellites.
not a million. One collision doesn't just destroy 2 satellites, it smashes them into thousands of fragments, and every fragment then becomes its own bullet, on its own unpredictable orbit hunting for the next satellite, which then shatters into 1,000 more. We become trapped on Earth. To learn what we can do to stop this from happening, make sure you're following. SpaceX has filed to put...
So they
Yeah.
haven't found any solutions, mentioned any solutions here, but that's the problem. Yes.
But I mean, it is a problem. Ultimately, it has to be solved at some point. Like you cannot just keep sending satellites and not expect at least something like this event to happen.
Yes, that's yes, it has to be solved. And yeah, I mean the point right now, the concern is like who is going to take up this thing? Because it has to be some government agencies, because currently no business has any incentive to create any technology on this. I mean, I regularly cover a lot of space-related news or advancements. Mostly, as I said, it is either about the moon thing or about something LEO, low Earth orbit thing, like putting some satellites or any technology that is about putting satellites there, bringing satellites, bringing objects back down. Nothing about how to clear debris or anything, because there's no obvious monetary benefit at this moment. So I don't know who is going to make sure about this, like take the responsibility.
Mhm. Okay, then maybe let's move on to a different topic now.
Okay.
So let me give some context. So I read this kind of like a research study about the intelligence crisis scenario in 2028. So essentially, the main points are like the widespread deployment of AI will trigger a massive macroeconomic crisis by 2028. It will lead to something they're calling the intelligence displacement spiral, uh, which from what I basically understood is that companies will probably replace highly paid humans with cheap AI, and then the displaced workers will cut down their consumer spending. This contraction will force companies to lean even harder into AI cost savings and so on. Is what my higher level understanding was. Let's see if let's look at some details here. So yeah, this is the 2028 Global Intelligence Crisis. I think it was done by a firm called Citrini Research. And yeah, it's not in any official academic paper and such. It is just a what if scenario or financial model, let's say. And the setup of this model, there are some key assumptions that AI agent, as it gets better and better, it will still be very cheap. They're assuming it will be like if you compare it, it is going to be cheaper than a cup of coffee for someone to use AI agents. And the baseline number, and they're assuming, I guess, by mid 2028, the stock market crashing by nearly 40%, US unemployment shooting up past 10%, and high income, high mortgages will go into default. So let's talk about the intelligence displacement spiral. I explained it in a like a very simple way. Currently, there are multiple different domino effects to that. So first thing will be losing the high spenders. So past automations have only replaced factory or basic labor, while the office jobs grew, and the office workers were the uh, majority of the middle class. They are the ones buying the houses. They are the ones paying for vacations, buying new cars, and they were the ones paying the bulk of the income taxes. So wiping out this area of jobs and this area of the class in society will drain the real world economy faster than losing entry level jobs. And then the panic effect. So even people who have kept their jobs and were not replaced, they will be living or working in a panic when they see that their co-workers that they were working with are being replaced by AI or by software. They will also start freezing or spending less on non-essential items. They will hoard cash. This will again cause other many businesses to lose revenue even faster. And then comes the software doom loop. So most companies are paying for work software like Salesforce, Microsoft tools, etc. on a per person monthly fee. So when a company is firing 30% of its office workers, it has to cancel the 30% of its software accounts as well. So the software companies giving their software to the enterprises also lose massive amount of revenue. They will also then get desperate. They will fire their own workers and rely on the AI to cut costs for themselves. So this leads to what they're calling a ghost GDP. So where the AI is pumping out massive amounts of work for zero cost, but almost all of this money is flowing to a tiny group of big AI, let's say AI companies and the microchip workers. While not only normal families or people are affected, but also other businesses who are not directly AI companies will also be affected by the system. So, yeah, this is the scenario they are painting, but I recently have been seeing some headlines or articles about how AI currently is more expensive to use because of token costs and etc. than basically just using a human. So yeah, it is also saying that today it is mostly true. So, like some studies have found that right now for roughly 75 to 80% of office tasks, paying a human is cheaper and less of a headache than using an AI system because running massive AI systems will cost a lot in electricity, in computer chips. There's still the chance of hallucination. It has not gone away, and they will have to pay few human experts even more to double check that the output the AI has given is correct. So I suppose the Citrine models research assumes that by between now and the 2028, the cost of computer drops, the cost of compute will drop, etc., etc. And the viability of using AI agents instead of humans becomes even more lucrative for enterprises. And so, yeah, of course, it is a very how should I say it? Maybe what's the word?
Conservative,
Not conservative. Not conspiracy also. Oh,
dystopian,
no, it starts with a C, C only. When someone makes a like a scandal controversial.
controversial. Yeah.
So this can be this study can be seen as a controversial study because like they are painting quite a dystopian picture of the future. And so if I asked for some feedback or reviews of what other different kinds of people are saying regarding in regards to this, not exactly maybe this study, but this kind of scenarios. So apparently, the Wall Street they took it seriously, and it caused a brief sell-off in software and private lending stocks. Although I did not check in details which exactly. But coming to mainstream economists, they are calling out some bad logic. So they're saying when tech makes things cheaper to produce, prices of everything will drop overall. So that will save people money. And again, they're saying it will open up brand new industries and jobs we can't even imagine it. I have been hearing this since the first time ChatGPT was announced. There have been talks about the economy will look completely different. There will be jobs we cannot even think about. But I don't see yet any sign or any direction of where that could be going. And of course, tech analysts, they are pointing out the hardware aspect of this thing, and they are saying that paper is ignoring real world hardware limitations like power grids. They might run out of electricity, chip shortages, and overall how slow big corporate bureaucracies are to adapt new software. Yeah, and policy experts are also saying that any government will not just sit back and watch their country, nation reach an employment number of 10%, because ultimately they are benefiting most from taxes. Or if they are taxable, the amount of taxes they can collect or the people from whom they can collect goes down. It is a net negative for them, for the nation as a whole. So it will not, they will not just let it happen, is what they're saying. And again, it seems, some sense seems realistic, and also to me some sense seems quite optimistic as well. But yeah, yeah, in terms of actual plans to fix the scarcity problem, like what can be done. Uh, so there's, I don't know how, if it is actually been discussed in any government's policy making system, but apparently there could be robot and compute taxes. So there should be tax to the actual computer power the companies use, or the company should be hit with a tax penalty when they replace a human worker with an AI agent. Of course, these are like very simplistic suggestions, but maybe one direction policy could go to. Of course, there's again talks of the UBI and what is people law? Passing rules that legally require a human to double check and sign off on major decisions. Even though, I mean, it still would require less humans than originally we started with. Like, if even if we pass a law that legally require a human to double check things today, suppose five people are doing something, then in the future, like one person has to just verify. Like it's still not the perfect situation or perfect solution, it seems to me. And what other, okay, then it also highlights what other cascading effect this kind of situation will have. So software subscription collapse, it's similar to what I already talked about from software enterprise point of view. But software consumers, software companies, they're charging certain subscription amounts for each user. So when corporate clients will cut stuff, software revenue for those companies also will plunge. Then private loan blown up. So uh, so like since the past itself, private investment funds are lending lots of money to software companies. What is this about? Yeah, so the
Yes.
private companies are banks are lending money to private companies, assuming they will make that money back. But if the software company loses customers, loses revenue, then the banks are also losing that money that they've loaned out. Then the middlemen get erased. So yeah, if AI agents become capable enough, so many of the businesses, small businesses, or so many of the kinds of jobs or even services that are there today can be eliminated because they essentially work as middlemen to provide convenience. So, for example, travel booking sites, tax preparation software, real estate platforms, all of those can be bypassed if an AI agent is capable enough to do all of that. And so it is affecting, like basically it is a cascading effect of so many other different uh, platforms or areas. Then big mortgages go under. This is again if the prevalence of AI agent hits the middle class or upper middle class the most. And these are the people who have high mortgages because they can afford to take high mortgages for their house, and maybe any other loan. And if their pockets essentially are impacted, then the loans that they have taken out will they will have to default on the essentially like this is similar to what happens to software companies at an individual level. So there's no proper conclusion as such, but these are the different scenarios, cascading effects and such they have mentioned if AI agents become widespread and cost efficient enough in the future. So yeah, do you have any opinions?
Yes. So, as you've stated, all of these events are going to happen assuming that AI becomes like cost efficient and intelligent enough to replace human workers. So that's
Yeah.
that's this like the holding assumption based on which everything is based upon. If that assumption breaks, none of this matters. So look at that assumption. Uh, just like brainstorm about how likely is that going to happen. So I can talk about like from practically what's happening from my own work experience. Also, I'd like to know how much in your work do you or is AI used? Because you said like you're like it's some proprietary data or something like that. So is it used AI in any ways?
Mm, yeah, we have the enterprise version of Copilot, so we can put uh, the company data there. But even
Okay,
then, the usage itself, like say 50%, 50 to 60% is simple tasks like for summarizing documents, writing messages, writing emails, and maybe one aspect that has improved is people are very quick to write any automation they want for their tasks, any scripts, and so on.
okay,
So in that aspect, so it is useful. Uh, but since our work relies on different softwares, and so far those companies or those softwares are not using AI agents as such. So it is most of the core work is manual in the sense like traditional software only, not AI agents. But AI agents are not even AI agents, just normal chatbot systems. But most of them are used for like understanding text, generating few texts here and there, mostly.
okay. Now talking about how it's used in my context, is that on the surface it looks simple to automate uh, blogs, but which is even tried. But the thing is that from an SEO and AEO perspective, it didn't work very well because it was very generic. And the point is that in for Google search, it has to there are a lot of other parameters where there are SEO experts that I work with. The so those are the ones that guide the whole process. I'm the one who's responsible for writing based on their feedback and their instructions. So there are a lot of things that needs to be uh, followed. It just putting the topic and writing uh, like expecting an output. That's a very generic output. That's not going to rank anything in the search page. So those requires that requires me to uh, create in batches. Like there are like if there are 7 or 8 sections, each section needs to be created separately, and, and I need to check like whether the keywords that are used are in appropriate frequency or not, or whether they're being stuffed too much to look like it's being spammed. or not. Because even if I say to AI like, okay, don't use too much, it will do whatever it wants, but I need to make sure that whether it's there or not. So the point is that a human is needed here to do all of those things. It
Yeah.
But definitely it is much faster, or I think a few people, less people are required. Maybe if there was no AI, I think I would not have been the only one. I would have like there would have been like 5 or 6 more like me. Instead, there is only one of me, maybe because of AI. So that's one of the things that it has fastened, like made it efficient, but it requires humans. And another thing is that so that's one of the reasons that the amount of people required are less. AI has done that. But on the other hand, what I can say is that over time you learn how to use AI for your own specific work. So it's I know that if anyone can replace me, if they just use my prompts or the way I work. But that's the whole point. It will take a lot of time for them to learn my work process. And it will take me for me to learn someone else's work process who is also using AI. So that's the whole thing. Like, in what context am I using it? So maybe because I've been using AI to create articles and blogs for so long, so it has become quite easy for me. And that's why I find it difficult when I get instructions to create uh, text content for some other reasons. And I think, why can't they do it themselves? It's so easy. But maybe I forget, like, it's easy. I think it's easy because I do it every single day. And one practical way I have understood it is when I look at AI generated videos in on YouTube. Like some of them are so like maybe during the World Cup, I've seen a lot of like Erling Haaland versus Mbappe anime kind of videos. So those are, I think, is those not, I think they definitely are AI generated. Even those logos are there for those. But I won't be able to generate it at one go. It will take me at least a month or two to even get the hang of what kind of prompts to give. Because I have no idea how that works. My expertise in AI is only how to create text content, not video content, or even AI images. I can create basic images but not detailed images. So my AI skills is specialized in my area of work.
Yeah.
So this also again, so from this point of view, what I'm trying to say is that even so there's this talk about like one person company, like one CEO, like who is a CEO and he can use AI for all of those things. It is theoretically possible, but that person has also needs will have to be an intelligent and a kind of a polymathic person. Like he has to have knowledge about a lot of different things. And in real world, there are very few people who are well versed in a lot of different things to be able to handle so many kind of things. So that is why there will be humans who are specialized in their own field, handling each and every department of a company. So that will be there.
The thing you're talking about AI costs and talking about it becoming cheaper. So few months ago, when Mythos, Fable, those were the top models, it seemed unlikely for AI to get cheaper fast. Then all of a sudden we had Kimi K3, and even I think when Alibaba's model also came out, which is open weights and significantly cheaper. So if things start going in that direction, maybe it can get cheaper. But again, did not read the article in detail, but I read the headline saying that DeepSeek is also thinking of increasing the prices for the subscription. or their tokens or whatever. Well, basically, they're trying to increase the price. So it cannot really predict if AI will, or at least the top models will get cheap enough, because the hardware limitation is real. Like the memory crunch is there. We can see the cost of all the other uh, uh, gadgets or whatever where memory is used getting expensive and more expensive because the AI memory production itself is limited. And I don't know exact numbers and such, but I've been reading like since 2029 or so, the stocks are like already, or the production,
Orders.
yeah, like the productions are for 20, after 2029 are going to be limited or so. So even beyond that, the prediction or the forecast is not there, but at least till 2029, the production, they are not going to ramp up the production, or it's not possible to ramp up the production to meet the demand. So by that logic itself, but at least in this model they were saying 2028. So maybe even till 2029, the because of the limitation of hardware, the AI is not really going to get cheap.
Yes. So, which means if AI is not going to get cheap, so it will be more beneficial economically to have humans in place of AI model. That's the point you're trying to make.
Yeah, I mean, as per their assumption and
Yes.
their scenario.
Yes. Yes. Uh, so again, what I was trying to say is that uh, even if like okay, AI is even if AI is like cheap enough, like whoever is running that person needs to have certain amount of knowledge to even make sense of what to do and what the output means. Uh,
Also, wait,
because
then because they are also talking not about chip, but AI agents getting intelligent enough. So then maybe you don't really require that much expertise from the human
see, do
in a
not.
hypothetical scenario at least.
Yes, I mean I have to think about it, like whether it's
Because like if you're truly talking about like AGI becoming reality, what we are say we're reaching singularity and whatever,
yes,
it is smarter than humans. So it really doesn't require any assistance from us to do its thing.
yes. In that scenario, it's different. Like if